Another system I want to talk about is Experian. So once you've had your Experian training, you will have access to the next bar. The next bar is what you're going to log into when you're using APM to schedule or acknowledge patients. You're going to verify your insurance through Experian. Experian is the primary source of insurance eligibility that we use here at UK Healthcare. There might be some other insurance payer sites that you'll need to go to. You've taken a WBT on Kentucky Health Net. You may end up having to go there and do some verification. But for the most part, Experian will be your primary source that you go to. No matter what insurance that patient has, with the exception of motor vehicle, workers' comp, and research, Experian will go out to that payer and pull you back eligibility on that patient. And when you're on the policies tab, there are fields in APM that you need to match to make sure that they are the same as what Experian comes back for, or that payer results back into Experian for. If those fields don't match, we could end up with a denied claim. So to log into the next bar, I'm going to go down to my start menu, and under my ambulatory folder, I'm going to scroll down, and there is the next bar. So I'm going to click on the next bar. It's going to bring up the login page. Now you're going to learn how to do all this in your training, but when the login page comes up, your username will be your link blue username. You also have to include the @uky.edu every time. This is the only system that we have at UK that you have to include @uky.edu. Everything else, you just use your link blue username. So once the login page comes up, I will log in. Now, the password that you set up in your training is going to expire every 90 days. So you'll have to reset it if it's expired. So my username @uky.edu. And then my password is whatever password I've created, unless it's expired, and it'll tell me if it has. And then when I click login, now what we cover in this class just shows the basic functions of how to find the information to match what our registration APM system has. Okay, so when you get logged into the next bar, here's your next bar. Okay, it's up here ready and waiting for me to schedule an appointment for a patient or acknowledge that patient for a visit. Once I do that, Experian will go out to that payer, the insurance plan the patient has, go out to that payer and pull us back eligibility. And the patient's name will drop right here in this gray part of the next bar. And then you will have some buttons to the right of the patient's name. There's different buttons that'll be there. QL is quick launch, AL alerts. The one that you're going to look for is the one that says CV. CV is coverage verification, where you look at the eligibility and match the fields. Those buttons that are there could be different colors. Red, if it's red, it indicates there's an alert or a potential error. If it's green, it indicates that there's no alerts for that. So there shouldn't be any differences in what we have in APM versus what Experian came back with. I've got my next bar docked to the top. You can actually move this, and they'll walk you through this in class too, okay? So where it says eCare Next, I will click this little, I don't know what you call it right there, but I'm gonna click that, and it's gonna bring this up. I can click this drop down, and here's some options for you, and they'll talk about these options. But what I wanna look for is the position settings. So I'm gonna click on that. And then I'll get these options here. Now I will tell you, and they'll tell you this in class, do not use manual. This will make you select the X and Y position, and that will cause you to be locked out of the system. So if you select manual, it'll make you pick one of these. And when you do that, you're gonna be locked out. You're gonna have to call the insurance helpline, and they're gonna have to walk through the process to get your account set back up or get you unlocked. Now, you could click bottom, and it will move this to the bottom when you log in. You could do free, and it'll be floating around. I like to leave mine at the top. It's your preference how you want to do it. Now, when you schedule an appointment or you acknowledge a patient for their visit, It takes a few minutes for Experian to go out to that payer and pull you back eligibility, okay? Once it results, you'll see the patient's name here. Oh, I'm actually going to go ahead and hit save it so it's docked at the top, and then hit exit. And then I'm back here. But your patient's name will result here, and you will click on the button that says CV for coverage, okay? Now, because I'm not logged into APM Prod, the live system, and I have not done anything with the patient in there, I've not scheduled an appointment or acknowledged a patient, I'm not going to have a result here. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go to my work queue. And again, in your training, they're going to talk to you about all of this stuff you see here. Like I said, I'm just covering the basics of where you need to find the information that you're going to match. Okay. So I'm going to click on work queue, and I'm going to pull a patient up so you can see how this works. Let's see if this patient has had something recently. There we go. Okay. If you get more than one option on a patient's name, you're always going to pick the first one. Now, I'm going to go ahead and click on coverage here. But what I want to say is that when you click on the CV up here to the right of the patient's name, the button that says CV, it's going to bring you right here. And this is what you're going to see. Now, if you look over here, there's one coverage. This patient only has one insurance plan, and it is the Anthem UK PPO. It also tells you that right here. Okay. So when you click on CV up here in the gray header beside the patient's name, it brings you right here. In your training, they're going to talk to you about customizing each of the payers that we're contracted with so that you don't have to scroll down through here and find the pieces of information that you're going to match in the policies tab in APM. Once you customize it, you can click on my response, and you're going to see just the fields that, or the sections that you need to match. The first section will be the insurance copays. If I look at this, it is active for PCP and specialist. Now, because she has UK PPO, if she comes to UK and sees a UK provider, her copay is $15 if it's a PCP. She comes to UK and sees a UK provider that's a specialist, she has to pay $25. Now, she could also go outside of UK to one of the providers that accepts the UK PPO, but she has to pay a $40 copay if it's a PCP. So she can go wherever she wants. If they're contracted with this UK PPO, she just has a higher copay if she doesn't come directly to UK. Does that make sense? So really and truly, when I'm matching the information from Experian into APM, I'm not looking at these outside UK. I'm looking at the UK copays for the UK PPO. Does that make sense? In network. And then I'm going to come down here where it says plan, and I'm going to look at that plan date. Plan date says 7/1/2013. In APM, the field is called effective date. You will match the effective date to the plan date of Experian. So in Experian, it says 7/1/2013. APM, that's what it should say in that effective date. If it does not, I'm going to change it in APM to match what Experian came back with. Okay. So the first thing you check is your copays to make sure those are correct. And then you look at your plan and get your plan date, make sure the effective date is correct. And then I come up here to the patient section. And I'm going to look at this name. In APM, we have to enter our patients as the subscriber, whether they are the subscriber on that plan or not. If they are older than 30 days old, in the manual for APM, it does talk about what you do if that patient is younger than 30 days. But if they're older than 30 days, in APM, we have to put the patient on the account tab, add the patient again on the account tab as the subscriber on a line all by themselves with no other contact associated with it. Okay. Because we have to make sure that all the information in their policy matches what Experian has. So if the name is different on the insurance plan from what the legal name that we have in APM, we have to have the subscriber, who is the patient, listed with the name that matches their payer plan, their insurance plan. Does that make sense? So in APM, I should have a subscriber listed as Carrie D. Walters. If I've got Carrie Walters in APM as my subscriber, I'm going to have to go fix that name to match what I have in Experian. And I will show you that when we get in there. Okay. And then I want to look at this member ID code. In Experian, the member ID code is the ID number, the plan, the policy number, whatever. In Experian, the field says cert number. So I'm going to match my member ID code from Experian to the cert number field of APM. Now this has got letters and numbers and it's pretty long. I could copy this out of Experian and paste it into the cert number field of APM if I wanted to. Okay. And then I'm going to come down and I'm going to look and see, do we have a group name? Does the plan in Experian that the results came back for, does it have a group name listed? If there is a group name in Experian, I should have this exact group name in the group name field of APM. If not, I could copy it out of Experian and paste it into APM. And then I'm going to look at this group ID number, and I'm going to match this group ID to the group number field in APM. Now there's a lot of numbers here and possibly some letters. Again, I could copy that and paste that if I want to make sure it's exact. Does that make sense? And then I'm actually finished with Experian on this patient, what I'm matching in APM. Okay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to close the coverage details that I'm looking at on this patient by hitting the X, and I'm still logged into the next bar. At the end of the day, I'm going to log out of the next bar. I would click this right here. I'm sorry. I just hit the X, and that will log me out of the next bar. But that, again, is all covered in your Experian training.